you haven't seen my video on the conspiracy chart, it might be worth checking out for a useful orientation. But this video is going to be on MK Ultra, not on the deep state. I might do that in a later video. But all you need to know, I guess, for the purposes of this video is that MK Ultra is down here in the green section, which represents things that have actually happened, whereas the deep state is way up here in the red section, past the anti-Semitic point of no return. In general, these things, there is plenty of evidence for them, whereas up here, there is little to no evidence, and in fact, these are dangerous things to believe in. So let's get into MK Ultra. MK Ultra was a secret CIA operation that began in 1953. It was based on two earlier projects codenamed Artichoke and Bluebird, which themselves were based on experiments conducted by the Nazis at concentration camps where they used the hallucinogenic drug mescaline. The purpose of these experiments and these secret projects was to determine whether psychoactive drugs could make people do something against their morals, against their will, and even against their own instinct of self-preservation. They were attempts to determine whether psychoactive drugs could be used for mind control. The head of MK Ultra was a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb, who came to be known as the Black Sorcerer. He was fascinated with LSD and attempted to achieve a worldwide monopoly on the drug by purchasing hundreds of millions of doses of LSD from Sandoz laboratories in Switzerland, where the drug was first synthesized by Albert Hofmann in 1943, incidentally almost at the exact same time that the atomic bomb was discovered. After trying LSD himself, Sidney Gottlieb then went on to dose other members of the CIA and of the military, some of whom had agreed to be part of the experiment and others who had not. The pool of unwitting participants then expanded to include prisoners, mental patients, prostitutes, and other members of the public, some of whom were dosed for many consecutive days on end, in one case for an entire year. Unwitting participants also included at least 7,000 military veterans, many of whom later sued the U.S. government. In addition to being dosed with LSD, some subjects were further subjected to electroshocks, hypnosis, isolation, sensory deprivation, stressful interrogation, verbal abuse, and SA, and other forms of torture in an attempt to wipe their minds completely clean. During the 2 decades of MK Ultra, the CIA worked through various front organizations and also collaborated with hundreds of researchers and various other institutions, including at least 44 universities. Plot twist, among those who actually volunteered for the experiments were beat poet Allen Ginsberg, Grateful Dead lyricist Robert Hunter, and Ken Kesey, who was the head of the Merry Pranksters and author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Kesey is also famous for organizing the acid test parties at which the Grateful Dead played, incidentally, which more or less launched the hippie movement, well known for its rebelliousness, its free love, and its anti-war sentiment, all of which, needless to say, the CIA was adamantly opposed to. Amidst the Watergate scandal in 1973, another actual conspiracy, MK Ultra was effectively scrapped and almost all of its records were destroyed. In 1975, MK Ultra was investigated by the Church Committee, which was a Senate committee named after its chair, Frank Church. They didn't have any records, so they had to rely on the sworn testimony of victims. 2 years later, however, in 1977, a cache of some 20,000 documents was found that had been stored apart from the original documents. The director of the CIA at the time was a guy named Stansfield Turner, who swore under oath that he would give all the documents that he had available to him to the Justice Department, who would investigate the MK Ultra project, but the documents never arrived and nobody was ever held accountable for these atrocities. As for Sidney Gottlieb, the so-called Black Sorcerer who oversaw the project and then ordered the shredding of all the documents, he testified to the Senate in exchange for complete immunity.